You need to understand that your entire external world is nothing more than a reflection of your internal state of consciousness. And this is where the idea of embodying your assumption takes root. For it is not enough to simply think of a desire occasionally or whisper hopeful affirmations, but you must live from the state of the wish fulfilled and let that reality become more real to you than the one you perceive with your senses. When you assume a new identity internally, you are stepping into a new version of yourself, and it is from that place of inner embodiment that the outer world reorganizes itself to mirror that new conception you hold of yourself, which means you must become the person who already has, already is, already lives the outcome you seek. You must walk, think, feel, respond, and carry yourself as the version of you who no longer seeks the desire but enjoys it as a part of your natural state. And in doing so, you dissolve the gap between wanting and having because you eliminate the need to chase what you have already become. When you detach from the physical evidence and shift your focus inward, you begin to experience a powerful shift in your consciousness, one where you no longer seek validation from what is, but instead command creation by aligning your inner world with your deepest desires. And this alignment is not a fleeting moment of visualization or a shallow repetition of words, but a deep, consistent embodiment of your assumed identity, which means that your mood, your reactions, and your expectations all reflect this new internal stance. You must become so rooted in your inner conviction that no outer appearance has the power to sway your belief or cause you to doubt the reality you have claimed within. And this requires a level of discipline and devotion to the unseen that is often misunderstood by those who look only to the senses for proof. You must move through your day with the certainty that what you have claimed internally is already yours. And even if the outer world remains unchanged for a time, you persist in the assumption until it hardens into fact. When you embody your assumption, you no longer try to make something happen, for the very effort implies lack and separation. And instead, you dwell in the end result, resting in the knowing that the world must conform to the state you occupy. And this rest is not laziness or inaction, but a deep trust in the process of creation, one where your inner state is the cause and the outer reflection is the effect. You no longer worry about timing, for time bends to the state you inhabit. And so you let go of the need to force or rush, understanding that urgency is born from doubt, and doubt is a signal that you have not yet fully assumed the state you desire to embody. You learn to relax into your new identity, choosing thoughts and feelings that align with your desired outcome. And in doing so, you shift your energetic signature, which magnetically draws to you the people, opportunities, and circumstances that resonate with your new state. You become the embodiment of your desire not by outer doing, but by inner being. And this inner being becomes your new normal, your new base reality. And though the senses may continue to echo the old state for a time, you remain unmoved because you know that persistence in your assumption is what guarantees its external manifestation, and not the evidence or lack thereof around you. You detach not in the sense of indifference, but in the sense of no longer needing the outer world to prove your new identity to you, for you have already accepted it as true within. And this inner acceptance is what initiates the chain of events that culminate in physical manifestation. You speak to yourself from this new identity, you observe the world from this new perspective, and you respond to life as the version of you who already has what you once longed for. When you live from the end, you naturally align with the energy of your fulfilled desire, and everything in your world begins to reorient itself around that central state. Just as a magnet organizes metal filings into a new pattern, and though others may not understand how effortlessly your reality seems to shift, you know that it is not magic or chance, but the precise and unfailing law that whatever you accept as true of yourself becomes your experience. You do not merely pretend or hope, but you genuinely become inwardly and completely, and this becoming is not always loud or dramatic, but often silent and subtle. A quiet certainty that grows stronger with each moment you spend dwelling in the desired state. You no longer talk about your desire as something you want, but speak from it as though it is already woven into the fabric of your daily experience. And this shift in language reflects a deeper shift in identity. You stop seeking signs and stop watching for results because you know the only sign you need is your own inner conviction. And as you persist in this embodiment, the outer world must eventually catch up, for it is law, not luck, that governs creation. You move through the world with the quiet confidence of one who knows their power, who understands that the invisible assumption is more powerful than any visible fact. And you find joy not in waiting for your desire, but in living it now in consciousness. You begin to see that circumstances are merely reflections, not causes, and that your true work is always internal, always focused on maintaining your identity in the desired state, no matter what appears to be happening outside. This inner steadiness becomes your foundation, your strength, and from it springs a life that mirrors your deepest assumptions about who you are and what is possible for you. Each moment becomes an opportunity to recommit to your new identity, and when doubts arise, as they naturally will, you do not fight them or push them away, but acknowledge them, and then return to your chosen state, knowing that the repetition of this process is what builds the momentum of manifestation. You realize that the world responds not to your words or even your actions, but to your state, to the vibration you carry, and that this state is entirely within your control. You do not need to manipulate people or force outcomes, for the assumption does all the work, reorganizing reality in ways you could never have planned with the logical mind. And so you let go of the how and stay loyal to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You make decisions as the version of you who already has what they desire, and in doing so, you signal to the subconscious mind that this new identity is your truth. Your inner conversations shift from lack to fulfillment, and you begin to notice how your imagination becomes your truest reality. For what you hold within begins to override what you see without. And this is not delusion, but creation, for all things are created twice, first in imagination, then in form. You learn to value the unseen more than the seen, to cherish the feeling of already having, rather than the frustration of waiting to receive. And this shift in values aligns you with the flow of manifestation, which always begins within. You no longer react to appearances with fear or frustration, because you know that appearances are temporary echoes of past assumptions, and you have chosen a new reality from within. You rise above circumstance, not through effort or denial, but through the clarity of knowing that you are the operant power, and your world must reflect the state you dwell in consistently. You do not try to be positive all the time, for you understand that true embodiment goes deeper than surface emotions. It is a stable identity shift, not a fleeting feeling, and so you learn to rest in the assumption even when emotions waver, knowing that the subconscious responds to repeated impressions, not to momentary moods. You allow yourself to feel the depth of your new reality without needing to prove it to others. And in this quiet certainty, you find a power that transcends appearances, a creative force that shapes reality according to the state you assume to be real. You see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to affirm your new state. And each time you persist despite appearances, you strengthen your belief and bring your desire closer to tangible form. You embody your assumption not through rigid control, but through relaxed dominion, allowing your imagination to paint the picture of your ideal reality, and then stepping into that picture with your inner being until it feels as natural as breathing. You use the world around you not as a gauge of success, but as a canvas upon which your inner state is projected, and each experience becomes feedback, showing you where your assumptions lie. You do not blame the outer for what you experience, but take responsibility for your inner stance, knowing that the outer must conform in time. You become a deliberate chooser of states, and each state you inhabit becomes the seed of a new reality. Even when nothing seems to change, you persist because you understand that manifestation is a process of unfolding, and that your continued embodiment of the end state is the guarantee of its arrival. You move from wishing to knowing, from hoping to claiming, and in this claiming, you set in motion the unseen forces that bring your desire to life. You realize that faith is not blind belief, but a deep inner conviction in the reality of the unseen. And this conviction grows with every moment you choose to live from your desired end. You do not need to convince others because your world is a mirror of your own belief, not theirs. And so you focus only on your internal alignment, which is the only true work that matters. Your feelings become your guide, not because they create, but because they reveal your state. And when you feel yourself slipping into doubt or fear, you gently return to your assumed identity, not with force, but with love, knowing that consistency in the state is more important than perfection. You begin to enjoy the feeling of already having, and this enjoyment becomes a magnet for more of what you desire, for like attracts like, and the feeling of fulfillment draws more fulfillment. You stop chasing desires and start embodying them, and this shift turns you from a seeker into a creator, from a reactor into a chooser, and your life transforms accordingly. As you continue to dwell in the state of your fulfilled desire, the world around you becomes malleable, shifting and reshaping itself to reflect the inner reality you have chosen. And though others may marvel at your apparent luck, you know it is not luck at all, but the result of living in the end. You understand that your assumption does not create instantly, but inevitably. And so you release impatience, trusting the timing of manifestation because you trust the law. You become the version of yourself who already has it. And in becoming, you receive, not through force or struggle, but through alignment. And each time your new reality unfolds, you strengthen your understanding that embodiment is the key, and assumption is the doorway through which all desires become reality.